No, double at all. So
Ready?
there's double right here.
All right, we'd like to call the meeting of the Board of Public Works to order.
This is my house.
So could we first have the roll call?
Yes, Mayor Donches,
I'm here.
Commissioner Tease,
Present?
Commissioner Moriarty,
Here.
Commissioner Shoneman. Here. And Commissioner Pappas cannot be here with us this evening.
All right, and we also have the aldermanic liaison, Alderman Mike O'Brien, plus Commissioners-elect Paul Shea and June Lemon. Thank you for coming. Next is a motion to approve the agenda. Commissioner Tease,
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd. Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of September 23rd, 2021.
Any discussion or corrections? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Public comment. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to the board? Come on up. Right here.
Good afternoon, Mayor Donches, Commissioners.
So you just have to give your name and address.
Okay, Robert Mafia, 11 Settlement Way in Nashua.
Okay.
I do have some emails that I can pass out if you'd like, just for reference. Subject to- It doesn't matter, we'd like to talk about it.
Thank you.
Now, the public comment section is limited to 3 minutes.
That's fine.
Yeah. Okay.
So we moved to Settlement Way in 2018. My wife Denise and I are avid walkers and hikers. Didn't realize when we moved there that it would be difficult to get off our street and do some walking. About a year later, there was an individual killed not far from Votines at about 5 or 6 in the evening. So we've just observed over the last few years how difficult it is to walk on West Hollis Street. There's intermittent sidewalks. So even if you said, I'll cross the street every half a mile, that's difficult because there's no crosswalks, there's no lights, there's no emergency lighting, there's nothing. So walking is very difficult, intermittent sidewalks. In the winter, it's almost impossible because the sidewalks aren't plowed. Now, I don't know if that's the city's responsibility or individuals, to be honest with you, but that's another cause for concern. And then naturally, it's 35 miles an hour. People don't respect it. They're racing back home out west. And then the middle turning lane becomes problematic because they assume it's a passing lane. So I've seen people do 55 or 60 down that lane. So it's just a really, really bad road. And I realize it's not like the 25-mile-an-hour road through Westgate or a 30-mile-an-hour road through Hudson. It's a little bit more as a main thoroughfare. But it seems like perhaps something can be done with radar or to limit it, speed bumps. But more importantly, I think a crosswalk and or a light would go a long way in allowing that traffic to come to a halt so people can cross. I mean, Denise has helped children walk across the road because it's so dangerous. And then we're thinking, we hear all these funds coming out of D.C. to help with infrastructure. We think maybe now's the perfect time to do something. Have I forgotten anything?
Nope, just, we have,
Now, can I interrupt?
Oh, sure,
If you
I'm
want to
sorry.
really be part of this, you should go up to the
Sure.
microphone.
my name is Denise Mafia. I live at 11 Settlement Way. And so after that pedestrian was hit, the gentleman that's listed on the top of that email, Richard, I wrote to Mr. Jetty the next day because I was really upset when we moved in. I was like, someone's going to die on this road. It's just terrible. And asked him about if he could consider doing something with the road, looking into it, doing a study. And because it was just a new accident, he said, they would look at it. So we never really heard anything on it. And then we had been walking one morning, and a project is in process right on West Hollis Street for 4 more houses right near Votines to be put in, which is more traffic and less slowing down. So I wrote again And I didn't really get a response, but I tried to summarize, traffic light or something. And then a few months later, my husband got frustrated and wrote to the Public Works and even mentioned maybe putting a police officer there, stop people, slow them down, but nothing. So I have received, I think, 3 emails from Jean Shaheen about how much money we've gotten on infrastructure. So I thought, let's maybe go to the meeting and maybe you guys could put your heads together and try to make it safer for us that live there. That's really what it is. It's very unsafe.
All right, is it mostly the crossing of the street or the pulling out from with the car?
It's both, actually. So when we walk, mainly we'll come out on the side of the road across from Foteens, which has sidewalk, but then it ends. So we're in the road for, I don't know how far, before we get into Foteens, and then we're off the road. But to get across the street for sidewalk, yeah, there's nothing. There's no crosswalks, there's nothing. All the way up to the little school that's, yeah. That's the only light, actually, between Hollis and Nashua on that road. So they get pretty fast by the time they get there.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
My name is Raquel Ward, and I live on 9 Rock Island Road in the same neighborhood that they live in, and I'm actually speaking in regards to the same issue. And I unfortunately experienced seeing Richard Murphy's body on my way home that evening from the grocery store because there was a lot of traffic on my way home, and I didn't know what was going on. And then I did see his body underneath the sheet when he had passed away from crossing the road where there was no crosswalk. I do ride my bike in the area a lot, and I know it's not the same as walking, but I have walked to Foteens with my stepdaughter a couple of times, and it is very dangerous to get across the street. And also, I see people just coming to work and leaving my neighborhood, darting across, trying to just make it across the street, either with their dogs or with their children or just by themselves. And I just feel, as we're saying, there is no crosswalk or any type of light. She's correct, from the Hollis all the way until Ledgewood Hills. And I just feel the same, that it's something could be added, either just even at Foteens or just a little further up at Westgate, some sort of a light or a crosswalk signal to make it safer. We would really appreciate that.
Okay.
So, okay, thank you very much.
Well, the city engineer is here too, so we will sort of get his thoughts in the coming weeks or whatever, days.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for coming. Anybody, any other member of the public want to address the commission, the board? All right, thank you very much. We have some referrals from the Board of Aldermen. Resolution R-21-171. Commissioner Schoeneman.
All right, I'm going to try to read this properly.
Okay.
I recommend a positive referral, correct, to the Board of Aldermen for Resolution R-21-179, authorizing the mayor to enter into a federal aid program project agreement with the state of New Hampshire for the purpose of installing rectangular rapid flashing beacons and to accept $452,000 for the project.
All right. Mr. Hudson is going to come on up on this, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. This project resulted from a grant application the city submitted to the Safe Transportation for Every Pedestrian program. We just heard about concerns about pedestrian safety. This is the type of thing that will address pedestrian safety, but this grant was focused in the downtown area, specifically along Main Street, West Hollis Street, although not as far out, I think, as Foteens, Canal Street and Kinsley Street. So there is a local match for this project, but that's already been funded through escrow from last year. I believe it's a 80-20 match program with 80% of the funds coming from the feds and 20% local. So good value for this type of a project. Improvements that are being considered are rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which we have on Main Street. You push the button, you get the blinking yellow lights. They've been shown to improve driver yielding to pedestrian crossings by up to 80%. So just that fact of having a light that only comes on when somebody's there really draws the attention of the drivers, so they'll stop and make for a safer crossing. So that's what this project would accomplish. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Anybody, comments or questions? Commissioner Schoeneman.
Yes, where did you say, you said that the flashing beacons were for Main Street, West Hollis, Kinsley, but then you said those are already funded?
There's 20 locations that were put in for the grant to look at 20 locations. They were on those streets. So it's in a variety of locations, but those specific locations are the ones that will be addressed by this grant funding because they were specifically in the grant application.
Okay, the ones you mentioned on Main Street, West Hollis, and Kinsley.
Correct.
Was there another one?
It was Main Street, West Hollis, Canal, and Kinsley.
Canal and Kinsley. Okay. So, is there a map for that project?
There is a map that went in with a grant application. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me to share. Like I said, it's 20 locations, but that is something that we have. Should anyone want to contact us, we can provide that.
If that could be made available.
Sure.
That would be good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We now have item B. Commissioner Tease.
I move for positive recommendation, Resolution R21-187, to the Board of Aldermen, changing the purpose of up to $440,225 of unexpended bond proceeds from the LED or LED streetlight project to infrastructure improvements, sidewalk construction for the design, repair, and construction of sidewalks.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the LED conversion project happened a while ago. That's where we went through all the streetlights in Nashville and converted them over to LED, which is a much more power-efficient type of fixture. So that project wrapped up, and there's some remaining funding. As has been discussed extensively previously, the city has a lot of needs to improve sidewalks throughout the city. So the intent is to transfer these funds into a sidewalk category so that we can direct them towards sidewalk improvements.
And those specific improvements would be?
Don't have anything necessarily specifically targeted for these funds yet. We're in the process of developing an inventory of all our sidewalk issues in the city, and then we can decide where best to focus these. Most likely, these will be focused in the downtown area, where there's significant amount of pedestrian traffic and a need.
Anyone? Comments, questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We now have item C. Commissioner Moriarty.
Move for a positive recommendation for Resolution R21-189, authorizing the mayor and city treasurer to issue bonds not to exceed the amount of $1,859,440 for various improvements at the solid waste department, Fort Hills landfill, and the purchase of a refuse truck and wheeled loader.
Mr. LaFleur?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. This bond right here would encompass a whole bunch of things that are needed at the landfill, particularly the landfill Phase 3 expansion. We're doing a continuation of that. The monies will be going towards mostly the engineering of it to continue to get more airspace for the city. It's also going to do for the Phase 4 permitting. We're going through a fight right now with DES, and we're spending a lot of money on that. This is to continue this to get us, 40 years of airspace. Recycling area upgrades, it's $200,000 to do various work around the landfill. Some of our buildings are starting to fall apart and not do very well, so we need to repair that to make it safe for our residents. And as you'll see in a little while, when we're going for approvals, we're going for a wheeled loader and a refuse truck through this bonding procedure.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed, and the motion passes. Next, Solid Waste Department. Item A, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the position name change from recycling coordinator to recycling administrator.
Mr. LaFleur?
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. The position's basically staying the same. We're just changing the name. When Sally retired, our recycling coordinator, we're just trying to make the name more fit into what the position really is. I mean, the position was there for 30-something years. We're just trying to make it an easier change.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we have the wastewater department. Motion, or item A, Commissioner Tease.
Move to approve the user warrants as presented.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Moriarty.
Motion is to approve the rebuild of a raw water pump by Williamson's Pump and Motor of Epping, New Hampshire, in the amount of $50,072.15. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater, account classification 54, Property Services.
Mr.
Thank
Boucher?
you. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. This is a pump that sits in our wet weather facility. It's a 20 million gallon per day pump. It had failed, so we sent it to Williamson Pump to be inspected as to why it failed. They discovered that the seals in the motor had leaked, faulted out the motor. It is a candidate for a rebuild, which they'd rewind the motor, they'd bake it, and put all factory parts and put it back together. It's a cost-effective way of rebuilding and getting back the pump versus buying a new one.
Commissioner Tease.
Just out of curiosity, what happens in the instance where that pump fails and you've got to move 20 million gallons of water? You have a backup to that and a backup to that, or how does that work?
Yeah, this is actually one of 4 pumps that sit in that building. There's the 4th one is the backup pump. We did have the instance where we had 2, but we did find out, because there's no head on this, that we can push up to 60 million with 2 pumps. So we do have backup
Thank
when
you.
one fails.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank
We
you.
now have the street department. Item A, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of a 2021 E60 R2 Series Bobcat compact excavator for the price of $68,971.80 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 040319 CEC. Funding will be through the Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Johnny Vera, Superintendent of Street Department. With me is John Stewart, our fleet manager. So he'll answer any technical questions or mechanical issue history. And I'll speak to the vehicle itself. And this particular machine is something we use daily. We have an E45 Bobcat now that we send out on our either projects or sewer repairs, residential. We're tying in the street. It's a smaller machine, and we use it on the shallower digs. So it's critical, part of the backbone of the operation for our daily work. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Tease.
I move to approve the purchase of one Johnson vacuum sweeper from Sanitary Equipment Company, Inc., Stoughton, Mass. For a price of $289,947 pursuant to HGAC Contract SW04-20, and the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department, 161 Street, Fund, Trust, Activity Surf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this again is a critical piece. We run our sweeper program from early spring as late as we can in the season. In fact, they're still operating now. So we sweep the residential areas and the primary runs multiple times a season, keeping the city streets clean. And we're going to replace a regenerative air sweeper with a vacuum sweeper that we found through trial and error. Does a better job of picking up debris.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Thank you. Many of these items on this list of equipment mention the $5,000 radio system. Can you explain why we need such an expensive radio system in every piece of equipment?
That is our inter-operational communication versus cell phone. We have a two-way radio in every vehicle within the Division of Public Works. So if somebody gets in a jam in a neighborhood plowing or on a job, we communicate directly. If we need something, somebody calls in something that we have to respond to quickly, we can communicate and dispatch whatever's needed to said area.
How different is it from a good old-fashioned CB radio?
Oh, much stronger, much stronger. Fire uses them, PD uses them, AMR uses them, and our entire division uses them.
Who has the contract for this, for installing these?
Mr. Mansfield, through the PD, is the one that's providing our services.
Okay, and was that put out to bid?
I'm sure it was, but I don't have that information handy. I can get you that. He's been supplying our radios for years.
It's a system that the entire city uses, Commissioner Shoneman, and the police department takes the lead on that. So they're the ones that would put that out to bid. And on every radio, there are different channels. So streets can communicate with solid waste or park and rec, or if they're, trying to coordinate a job together. So it's a citywide
Even fire can
communications.
communicate with us during a snowstorm. If they have a situation they're dealing with, they can jump on our band.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we'll respond quicker that way.
I certainly see that it's very good to have. I'm just wondering at the extravagant cost, $5,000
That I
per
have
vehicle.
no control over. That
It
just
is a
what it
lot of
is.
money. We could have Mr. Mansfield come in and explain it, but Motorola has kind of a corner on this market.
Yeah.
They have kind of have us in a.
Well, the only
Yes.
thing I could bring to this, the beginning of it, I think it's an 800 radio system. It's basically 16 lines. And even though a firefighter just unkeyed the mic, within nanoseconds, a police officer or a principal may be speaking on that one line, and the computer itself goes. But it's like everything electronic, it has a life expectancy. And then to keep the efficiency of each of these radios is very short-lived. Newer technology comes up, such as the fire department, they got to be intrinsic, so therefore they don't explode, but that's not going to happen in this type of case. So it's pretty much the cost that's going out there. And I say, we've been on this system for at least 15 years, that the 800 trunking system. So it's just bringing these vehicles up on board. And this is common with police and fire vehicles too, that they use a different vendor, but they go out and they have, the radios installed on them. And
Can I add one more thing to that? Sure. Just Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. These are purchases for the new vehicles that we have. If we have a vehicle that we're trading in, we do take the radios out and reuse them. But we don't have any vehicles we're trading in at this point. We're keeping everything for backline vehicles, so they all need the radios in them, so we can communicate. Just so you don't think that we just take the vehicle and throw it away and don't throw the radio away also. We do take them out and we do reuse them when we can.
Thank you.
Now, this is a citywide contract. It's very expensive, and it was millions, really. And, you know, it's a bit of a sore point because Motorola has this, basically a monopoly on this. And so they kind of put us in a position where, you know, there's really no choice. But it might be worth, it's kind of interesting subject, so it might be worth having Mr. Mansfield come in. He supervises all citywide communications, and, you know, just give you more insight into it, because, you know, he's very knowledgeable and can give you a perspective that everybody else knows only in part. So maybe we could have invite Mr. Mansfield to our next meeting, all right?
We'll do that.
That would certainly be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of the issue is there needs to be a uniform system of communication for all departments. And, for example, you need to have, for the fire department, you know, just the right equipment, because there can be someone in a basement or something like this, you know, and if that person is in trouble and if they have a piece of equipment that's not really that good, they can't communicate from a difficult spot. And, but Mr. Mansfield is kind of an interesting individual, and we can have him come in. Alderman O'Brien.
Yeah, you did tickle a thought there, Mr. Mayor, that there's also, with this type of system, all being on these radio frequencies, what's called in the business interoperability. So there is, in theory, that a deputy fire chief could speak with the supervisor of public works in the case of, let's say, a tornado or a severe storm, flooding that has occurred in the city. So there is that interoperability availability, and so it just makes the emergency situation. So it is worth it, but it is expensive, I have to agree.
Yes, I can certainly see the benefits of having everybody interconnected, especially in the case of snow events and wind emergencies and those kind of things. I'm just interested in how the pricing works. And as Alderman O'Brien said, they have a life expectancy, and all technology moves at lightning speed. It's hard to keep up. So
We'll have Bill Mansfield come in. Lisa will
I'll
invite
ask
him
him.
to the next meeting.
great,
I'm sure he'll be glad to explain it.
wonderful. Thank you.
All right, so any other questions or comments concerning this item?
Nope.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now have item D. C, sorry. Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of one 2022 Ford F-350 pickup truck from MHQ of Marlboro, Mass. for $77,662.80 pursuant to the active MAPC GBPC contract number 19-20-21, and the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Any discussion? Commissioner Moriarty.
Yes, the only question I have, Superintendent, and this goes, it looks like, according to our agenda, we may be approving several of these Ford pickup trucks, which are great, but they have a big V8 engine, which uses a ton of gas. And I was wondering, have we abandoned the whole CNG with the city, or has it not worked, or are we just, we are trying to, decrease our footprint any way we can, and I thought when it was established, it looked like a pretty good idea, but I know there's been issues with the CNG, so I was just wondering.
He's laughing because he always jokes that he has to love CNG because it's something that's important to me. So, so we have not had great luck with CNG pickup trucks, especially this size, that, because the F3, we purchased the F-350s, and you guys can chime in, but we purchased the F-350s in that size because we can put a spreader in them. So it's a big truck. So we have not had great luck with CNG in this size truck. So that's why we've been purchasing all gas pickups. But we do look at both CNG and electric in all the equipment that we're purchasing. So, in fact, we may come back to, we're still looking at the sweeper, an electric sweeper. The problem is right now, it's double. Everything electric is double. So we're looking for grants to see if there's any possibility of being able to buy an electric sweeper, but we don't know at this time. There are also electric trash trucks now. New York City's running them. But again, it's very expensive, so we'd have to find grants or something to make up the differential. But we do look at that. You will see later on that we do have a CNG trash truck that we're recommending to purchase, so. I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
Motion is to approve the purchase of a Caterpillar M317F wheeled excavator pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 032119-CAT for $275,000, and the purchase and installation of a radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Mr. Ibarra?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this, again, it's an excavator, a critical piece to our daily operation. Sewer repairs, if we're on a bigger, deeper main line, or just a deep lateral, we need that extra reach. We gain the benefit with this machine being wheeled. We can actually drive it to the job. It can go over the road versus having to load it on a low bed and trailer it over there. So that gets us out the door and responding to a scene quickly. This one's coming with a thumb, so should we ever have a natural disaster, again, where we're doing cleanup of tree work, like a few years back, we had 91 trees down in this one storm. You can just go out there, grab the tree, throw it off the side of the road. You're gonna save on time. It's safer for the guys, less saw work. They only have to buck it up versus really parting it up so you can manage it. There's just a lot of benefit to having this machine, and all the larger projects that we do also, this can be a backbone on those projects. We do ball fields, the skate park, the Main Street sidewalks, the Greeley Park boat ramp, all that big stuff that we get to participate in and keep the cost down for the city. That enables us to do some of these projects. This will be crucial to doing some of those.
Questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item E, Commissioner Tease.
I move to approve the purchase of one trackless MT7 articulated tractors from HP Fairfield, Hopkinton, New Hampshire, for a price of $166,528 pursuant to the HGAC contract number GR01-20 and the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Fund Trust Art Activity Surf.
So this machine, its main objective is to clear sidewalks in the winter, but it's a multi-tool. We can put a milling attachment on it, a broom, a sickle bar mower. We can cut back edges of roads where we have line of sight issues, but primarily it's used for our milling and our sidewalk clearing in the winter. This is a safety factor on this one. We got 2 that went to auction out of service, and I have 2 down now. So currently we're down 4. And we like to run, if I get 5 or 6 out the door, we usually have 9 on the floor. These things beat themselves up when they run, just a heavy machine.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Yeah, just in previous history, Superintendent, we used to have the ones with the tracks, right?
Bombardiers, yes,
And they were like, weren't they a nightmare, but because they broke down quite a bit, I mean, you could,
that's correct. Technology's come a long way with what they're putting out the door now.
right.
And of course, these have the emissions, but they're a high horsepower tractor that can really move snow.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item F, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the purchase of one semi-automatic solid waste collection vehicle from McNeilis, 941 Hemlock Road, Morgantown, PA, in the amount of $341,275, pending bond approval, pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 112014-MCN, and the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity Surf.
Mr. LaFleur.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. This is one of my side load trucks that we do recycling with. We run it 5 days a week. We do multiple routes throughout the city with these trucks. And again, in the discussion, you'll see that we are keeping the truck it's replacing as a backup, so we can do all our repairs and maintenance to all our other trucks and continue picking up recycling.
Questions? Commissioner Moriarty.
And this is a CNG. It's not mentioned in the motion, but just so the public knows, it's a CNG vehicle.
Yeah, this is a like for like. It's in the discussion, but not in the motion. You're right.
Yep,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item G, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of a Caterpillar 980M wheel loader from Milton Cat in Londonderry, New Hampshire for $489,900 pursuant to the Sourcewell contract number 032515-CAT, pending bond approval, and the purchase and installation of radio systems from Motorola Solutions Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activities Surf.
Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. This loader is our big loader that we load everything in the landfill. We load everything from recycling to demo to sheetrock. We move all of our cover material every day with this to keep in compliance with our permits. I am planning on keeping the loader that we have right now, so if there's ever a breakdown or there won't be any overlap or lapse of time that we can do any of our work at the landfill.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item H, Commissioner Tease.
Yes, I move to approve the purchase of one 2022 Ford F-350 pickup truck from MHQ of Marlborough, Massachusetts for $45,810 pursuant to the active MAPC GBPC contract number 19-20-21 and the purchase and installation of a radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Trust Activity Surf.
This
No, go ahead.
This pickup truck's primarily going to be used by my scale operators and my foremen to watch residents coming in and dumping C&D. They're going to be checking, making sure the residents aren't dropping off inappropriate materials or chargeable materials that aren't getting charged. We're also going to use this vehicle for plowing the landfill and sanding and salting where the residents walk to help with the safety of the residents. Commissioner Moriarty, I also wanted to note that this is not a CNG vehicle, and the reason that we are not buying CNG vehicle is the tanks take up too much of the back of the pickup truck where the sanders slide in. That's another reason why all the other pickups aren't going to be it. The tanks of the CNG trucks actually take up some of the bed of the truck. I didn't want to jump up and mention it while everyone else was talking.
Commissioner Moriarty.
You may or may not know the answer, but we have just approved the same make truck for $77,000, and we're going to approve this for $45,000, a Ford F-350 pickup. So $30,000 difference.
I believe that, John can speak to it.
I can answer that. John Stewart, Fleet
Sure.
Manager. The previous pickup had a crane on it as well as an air compressor.
Thank you.
Increased the cost of that.
Did we vote? I forget. No, okay. Anyone else? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item I, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the purchase of one 2021 International HV 607 tandem axle water tank truck from Allegiance Trucks in Manchester, New Hampshire for $127,997 pursuant to the current New Hampshire state bid, and the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 168, Solid Waste, Fund, Trust, Activity, Surf.
Thank you. This water truck is actually part of our permit that we need to have. I've been operating with a old junk packer that we threw a body of a water tank on that's finally rotted out, won't work anymore. So this is for all my roads that I have to water, keep dust control down so it doesn't fly off-site to the residents around the city. And this truck is also equipped where we'll be able to respond to landfill fires quickly. I can get 4,000 gallons of water right to a fire and start putting it out before the fire trucks even show up.
And also, we don't have a tanker
Right, that's this.
truck in the city.
Fire department
The fire
doesn't have a
department
tanker.
doesn't own a tanker.
Discussion?
What's a fire department without a tanker?
You can answer
Tankless.
that.
It's a tankless job.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item J, Commissioner Shoneman.
Move to approve the purchase of one 2021 Ford F-350 four-wheel drive pickup from MHQ in Marlborough, Mass. for the contract price of $56,254.20, and the purchase and installation of a radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Pricing for this purchase will be off the Plymouth County Commissioner's contract. Funding will be through Department 177 Park and Recreation Fund Trust Activity Surf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So John Ibarra, Superintendent of Streets. Jason couldn't be here tonight, so he asked if I would speak to his motions. I'll do my best to answer your questions, but this vehicle, again, is another F-350 set up for plowing. Parks, maintains 40 parks, so they cart around their tools and their mowers with these trucks and join us for winter operations with these same vehicles, and that's what this will be used for.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moriarty.
I would just ask why, again, is this more than 44,000? Is it the plow unit or?
This actually, John Stewart, Fleet Manager, this actually has a utility body on the back with cabinets so they can secure their tools.
So you'll see cabin chassis come through, and then we set them up based on what they're gonna be doing for an operation. So those are the differences. Like the last one was the boom crane and the compressor for the sign maintenance crew.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Can someone explain the difference in the wording for the funding for this item? The Plymouth County Commissioner's contract, what is that?
Oh, the Plymouth County, that's like the state bid, but you have different sources. You can go through the Houston Group, Sourcewell, and Plymouth.
Yeah, Plymouth
County.
County Commissioners, you have the Greater Boston Police Council, Greater Massachusetts Police Council. There's a lot of different state bids.
So you can piggyback on a state bid, and they give municipalities the same price. So it's a better deal for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
so
the
we-
funding is still through SURF.
Correct.
Yes.
They just give you a break because you
That's the
piggyback
standard
with-
nationwide. So that group is offering that price for that vehicle. MHQ would be another one, Houston Group or HGAC, same,
I see, yep,
okay?
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item L, Commissioner Moriarty.
K, Mayor.
Excuse me, Commissioner, item K,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. I move to approve the purchase of two 2021 Ford F-550 four-wheel drive dump body trucks from MHQ in Marlborough, Mass. for the contract price of $75,000, $608.10. Each for a total of $151,216.20. Pricing for the purchase will be from the Plymouth County Commissioner's contract. Additionally, approve the purchase and installation of two radio systems from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000 each. Funding will be through Department 177 Park and Recreation, Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
Any questions to these vehicles?
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item L, Commissioner Tease.
Sure, I move to approve the purchase of one 2021 Ford F-250 four-wheel drive pickup from MHQ in Marlborough, Massachusetts for the contract price of $43,410. Pricing for this purchase will be off the Greater Boston Police Council contract. Additionally, approve the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund WRF, account category 81 Capital.
Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So this is a lighter duty truck, 250, four-wheel drive. This will be fitted with plow to do lighter weight duty work within the facility and outside the facility.
Questions?
Nope.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item M, Commissioner Shoneman.
Okay. I move to approve the purchase of one 2021 Ford F-350 four-wheel drive pickup from MHQ in Marlborough, Mass. for the contract price of $51,800. Pricing for this purchase will be off the Plymouth County Commissioner's contract. Additionally, approve the purchase and installation of a radio system from Motorola Solutions Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund WRF, account category 81 Capital.
This is a heavier duty truck. It's be fitted with a plow, also have a sander attached. This will be for doing work inside and outside of the facility. We have a lot of off-road areas. We have siphon chambers that we have to maintain, CSO sites that are all off-road, so we need a heavier duty truck.
Questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item N, Commissioner Tease.
Sure, I move to approve the purchase of one 2021 Ford F-350 four-wheel drive pickup from MHQ in Marlborough, Mass. for the contract price of $79,445.60. Pricing for this purchase will be off the Plymouth County Commissioner's contract. Additionally, approve the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Solutions, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund WRF, account category 81 Capital.
This is a specific duty truck. It'll be fitted with a utility body, a plow. This truck is used for maintenance crew to hold tools and spare parts. The crane is for lifting manhole covers, pulling pumps out of pump stations, and other heavy-duty jobs around the facility.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item O, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the purchase of one 2021 Toro GM 5910 Ground Master Mower from Turf Products of Enfield, Connecticut, off the Sourcewell contract 64117, for the price of $137,537.19. Additionally, approve the purchase and installation of radio system from Motorola Systems, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $5,000. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation, Fund Trust, Activity Surf.
John Ibarra, Superintendent, Street Department, again, on Jason Popolo's behalf, as he couldn't be here. This one was actually an education for me. I learned that we have 40 parks and maintain 900 acres of parks. I also learned that we mow about 150 of those acres. This particular tractor has a 12-foot cut, and it's got about 3,000 hours on it. It's down a lot, and what I learned through talking to Jason is when it is down, they have to send over the little scag mowers to do the work of that machine, which is about 3 of the scag mowers to make this cut. So this is a critical piece of the park and rec operation as far as all their mowing, and that's why he's looking to get this vehicle. And I'm happy to entertain any questions.
All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item P, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the purchase of winter road salt from Granite State Minerals of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Eastern Minerals Incorporated of Chelsea, Massachusetts, in the amount of $465,000. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund General, Account Classification 61, Supplies and Materials.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John Ibarra, Superintendent of Streets. This is our operating budget funding for the salt for the year. Unfortunately, it's that time again. You might notice that the price has gone up significantly. That's going to put a dent in what we can actually bring for tonnage. Last year, we were able to bring in about 9,300 tons. This year, we're going to bring about 6,500 tons. That being said, we're putting a dent in what we're actually using for hard material with our brine operation. So hopefully, this winter isn't too bad, and we have decent results, and we can get through. But it is a significant cost increase. Just wanted to point that out.
Anyone? Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. Just one general. I understand, one that just has to watch the nightly news and see the shipping and, like you say, we're down per ton with the price. But how is it anticipating, looking your crystal ball, availability as we get into winter? Let's say it's not. We'll be able to get more?
So we send in signed pending approval of what our commitment is to buy tonnage, so that's earmarked for the city. I haven't heard any negative on supply on the salt yet.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item Q, Commissioner Tease.
Yes, I move to award the contract for the replacement of 5 garage bay doors located at the Street Department facility to Fimble Garage Doors of Merrimack, New Hampshire, in the amount of $60,559.55. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Funds, prior year escrow, activity, garage door replacements.
So we went through the department and picked out 5 of the worst doors. There are more that need to be replaced, but we went out to bid and see what we could get. And this is the low bidder here at $60,000, rough figures. And we're going to replace the rotted out worst doors we have in the building. We have critters coming through, chipmunks, squirrels. They're crawling underneath because of the corrosive environment that we're in. So we're just trying to make it a little safer for the guys.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ibarra. So now, Engineering Department. Item A, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Shonen.
Move to approve 10 poll license petitions as listed in the staff memo.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Tease.
I move to approve the engineering services contract for assistance with the sewer rehabilitation program with Hayner Swanson, Inc. of Nashua, New Hampshire, in an amount not to exceed $229,500. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond Activity Sewer Infrastructure Improvements.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. As the board is aware, the city is doing extensive sewer rehabilitation work throughout the city. In 2018, we established a $5 million per year budget, so we're doing great work on our sewer system. That requires a lot of planning, preparing plans, bidding, doing as-builts of what's constructed, getting information into our GIS system, and a number of efforts like that. And given the size of the program, we contract that work with an engineering firm. Hayner Swanson has been doing that for us since 2018. They've done a good job. And they also assist us with our paving program. So that's beneficial in having the same engineer working on our sewer program and paving program for the coordination of those two critical pieces of work. So we recommend and request that we award them this contract, which will get us through preparing plans, getting a bid together for next year's construction. At that time, should we be successful in getting a good bid, we would come back and contract actually the field inspection portion of the work, which they assist with as well. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Commissioner Shoneman.
$5 million project, how far into it are we, would you say?
So it's $5 million per year, so we've been doing that since 2018. In terms of, we've talked about all the CCTV work, closed circuit television inspection work we're doing. So we're working our way through the system, prioritizing, looking at older pipes first. We've looked at probably about 20 to 30% of the system at this point. We have a huge system. But as we do that work, we find issues that need to get repaired, and this money allows us to do that construction.
And how many years at $5 million per year do you think we have until this project is ready to be put to bed?
It's hard to say at this point. As we go into the newer pipes, different types of pipe material, because we're looking at stuff that's, old concrete that was unreinforced, clay pipe. As we get into the newer PVC pipe and things like that, we would expect conditions to improve, which would mean there'd be fewer repairs to make. There'll probably always be some repairs to make. But it's hard to predict at this point. Like I said, we've looked at, 20 to 30% of the system, and we still have a ways to go. So at this point in time, it makes sense to continue this program at this level.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve amendment number 2 of the Canal Street Bridge Repair Design Contract with Fuse and O'Neill, Inc. of Manchester, New Hampshire, in the amount of $5,107. Funding will be through Department 161 Streets, Fund, Capital Activity, Bridge Rehabilitation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is engineering work for repairs to Canal Street Bridge. Canal Street Bridge is on Canal Street, which is a very heavily traveled corridor, over 30,000 vehicles per day. NHDOT inspects bridges on a every 2 years. And inspecting this one, they found defects that need to get repaired. It's currently rated in poor condition because of some concrete issues on the substructure of the bridge. So we had already engaged Fuss & O'Neill, and they've been working on designing those repairs. We took the project out to bid and received one high bid, and so we needed to do some additional permitting, we found out. So we did an Amendment 1 to address those things, and that work is underway, and we're close to bidding again. But a vehicle hit the bridge in July and did some damage, so we need this amendment in order to have our engineer look at that area, assess that damage, determine if there's any repairs that should be made, detail those repairs, and amend the construction documents accordingly. As noted, there is, we are working with the risk management department. There's a chance that some of this may be recouped through insurance-type settlements. So fairly minor change to this ongoing work. We do hope to bid this out and be in construction next year on this project.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve a, a 3-year joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey, New England Water Science Center, New Hampshire, Vermont office, Pembroke, New Hampshire, for installation and maintenance of a stream gauge on the Merrimack River in the amount of $25,850. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater, Activity Merrimack River Levy.
So this is as noted, an agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey, a multi-year agreement. And this is important because as river elevations change, we want to monitor that. We want to know how things are changing, especially in a heavy rain event, for emergency management purposes. So the proposal here is to establish a stream gauge on Taylor Falls Bridge, which will continuously monitor river elevations. That information will be posted by USGS to some websites that are used for sending alerts for people that are interested in general, but also for emergency management purposes and city purposes. So this agreement, we kind of, in the first year, we kind of split the cost of purchasing the equipment and installing the gauge, and then the following 2 years is kind of a maintenance agreement with USGS, which would continue into the future beyond the 3 years. But the agreement puts the burden on USGS to maintain this system. As long as we keep continuing with our annual agreement, should the thing need to be replaced in 10 years, they would replace it and keep it up to date. So this is critical to, as I noted, emergency management, also our operational levee system. Thankfully, we haven't had any significant floods like back in the 1930s, but even the Mother's Day flood and that sort of thing, there was some flooding, but this will help us monitor over time and be able to address any such situations.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item F, Commissioner Tease.
Point of order, am I moving to approve them or acknowledge them?
Good question.
Because it says they're approved
Yes.
previously.
All right, so your motion would be simply to accept, place on file.
Thank you. I move to accept and place on file the street opening permits issued for the streets in moratorium.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item X, Commissioner Moriarty. Or, excuse me, sorry.
You know it's a long day when you get to item X, huh?
Well, we're nearly there anyway. Administration Department, item A.
Move to accept the City of Nashua temporary policy on leave due to the coronavirus disease, COVID-19, effective immediately.
All right, so this you see in the packet. It is a policy that was adopted by the Board of Aldermen for other city employees. The purpose is to reward people for, encourage people to become vaccinated. In substance, it says that if someone contracts COVID-19 and has been vaccinated, their and they have to be absent because of it, the sick leave will not be used. On the other hand, if the person, has not become vaccinated, contracts COVID, and is out, as normal, they would have to use their sick time. And that is the policy that's you see before you. COVID numbers recently are up a lot. Today, we talked about the two main measurements of the extent of transmission through the city, and the positivity rate recently is 13%. That means that what that is it's the percentage of people who get tested that come up as positive as having COVID-19, 13%. That is about where we were at the height at various peaks of the pandemic. During the lull, we were down around 1% on that measure. The other sort of measurement is the number of new cases per 100,000 people that have been detected in the last 14 days. That number now for Nashua is, 600 plus. That number a few months back during the lull was more like 100. So we're seeing, and these numbers each week have been going up. So we're seeing, just as a matter of background, we're seeing definitely increased activity, increased cases. Hospitals, one of them used the word, well, I won't use the word they used, but it was explaining that their emergency room situation is very bad because not just COVID, a shortage of staff and other issues, but COVID is definitely contributing. Emergency rooms basically overwhelmed, healthcare providers turning people away because they've got so many people coming in with various conditions. And so, anyway, that's the kind of the context in which this is in which we're proposing this. So we're asking that you approve this for Public Works employees to match what's been done for others. Discussion? Questions? Am I allowed to ask a question? Sure. We'll let the superintendent of the, if we don't let you ask a question, you'll probably shut the sewers down or whatever. So we have no, we need to let you go forward, yes.
Thank you. Dave Boucher, Wastewater Superintendent, a proud employee of the city of Nashua. Thank you. I just had a question about, there are people that obviously fear getting vaccinated for one reason or another, perhaps a loved one have some adverse effects from getting the shot. Perhaps their doctor told them that, because they have underlying conditions, they probably shouldn't get vaccinated. It could be that they have religious beliefs. We know that that's the thing. Are there any provisions or something they can show that they could receive these benefits?
Your question is through? Are you through?
Yes, I am.
That did come up in the context of getting this considered by the Board of Aldermen, and although not written here, we did say that if someone had a legitimate medical reason for not getting vaccinated, other than just, I don't want to, or I'm, if there's a legitimate medically supported reason, that we would, consider making an exception in that case.
Okay.
So in other words, if a person is not vaccinated but has a good medical reason and they become infected with COVID and they're out, we would consider treating them.
Would religious belief also fall into that if they had
There's no exception here for that.
Okay. All right, my concern is, we've been through classes on, a couple classes live here, as a city employee. I just sat through a long class on recognizing discrimination, and I feel this is it falls with that, and that's kind of concerning. I just want to put that before you guys
understand.
vote. All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
All right.
Don't clog the pipes.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
I would agree with Mr. Boucher. The state of New Hampshire has started to take steps to protect those whose medical decisions are meant to be their own and not to be coerced by loss of their job or their benefits into making a medical decision, whatever the case, whatever it is. I disagree with that kind of coercion, and I would not be in favor of this policy. I also believe that that looks like discrimination.
All right. Well, I just remind you that the unvaccinated gets treated as normal, but the vaccinated people worthy to contract the virus and be absent do get a benefit, but we're not punishing or taking anything away from anyone that they don't already have. I mean, if you get sick, if you break your arm and you're out, you have to use your sick time. But I understand that you're not in favor. Any other questions, comments? Commissioner Moriarty?
Mary, my only question would be, this letter does not, as you said, mention that there could be exemptions.
True.
That is my only issue, that the people should know. I know we're trying to get people vaccinated, and but they, it should be made known, I think.
Well, and you're saying it should be in the policy, written into the policy?
I mean, I would think so. I think it should be clear.
I think we could make that clear, couldn't we, Mayor?
Yeah.
And
Clear
adopting
for
this
the-
policy, the
Yes.
Board of Public Works could say that. And those exceptions would not be made by the division. Those exceptions would be made by our HR department.
So
Just to be clear.
I did say that to the Board of Aldermen. Now, they didn't ask that it be written, but we could revise, we could include another sentence or, whatever. If you approve it conditioned on that, we could put that language in there and bring it back to you show it to you the next time. I forget who made the motion on this, so. Let's see, I think it was Commissioner Moriarty, right?
I think I did make the motion, so I would,
So you're suggesting that your motion be amended to make the approval conditional upon our coming back with revised language concerning legitimate medical reasons for a decision not to become vaccinated, correct? Is that,
if somebody has a legitimate reason not to be vaccinated, they get COVID-19, how are they getting paid? Is it coming out of their pay, or it will?
what I think we're saying is that in that situation where someone has a legitimate medical reason and they can document that they would not, and they contract COVID and they're absent,
Right,
they would not, their sick time would not be used.
right. I'd be in favor of that.
And so your motion is amended to include that condition, right?
Yes.
All right, any other discussion on the amended, now we have an amended motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed? Motion passes. All right, thank you. Now we have the director's report. Director Photo.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Diane's out there somewhere. There it is, great, thank you. So our first slide The street department installed some rectangular rapid flashing beacons at 3 unsignalized pedestrian crossings on Main Street. You've probably noticed that. We had it on the Main Street bridge crossing, and we added it to the others, so the other mid-block crosswalks. So this makes it much safer now for folks in those crosswalks. Amy Gill, who does a great stormwater presentation, gave her presentation about 70 4th and 5th graders at the World Academy on October 15th, and educating the public about how we can reduce pollutants and stormwater runoff is a requirement of our EPA MS4 stormwater permit. So she does a fair amount of that. And if you haven't seen her do it, it's worth coming to Public Works Day to see it. She's very animated. It's a lot of fun. A sinkhole on East Dunstable Road on the sewer main was repaired by the street department on October 28th prior to final paving. This is a sewer replacement done by Crisp Contracting at 15 Wellman Avenue. That was done on October 29th. This is some crack sealing that was done on Browning Ave as part of our pavement preservation program. That work was performed on October 29th. As part of our 2021 paving program, 107 sidewalk ramps were installed or reconstructed to meet ADA standards. This is an ADA ramp being constructed on Robinson Road on November 2nd. These are pavement markings that we're fast and furiously trying to complete now as the weather gets colder. This is a picture of crosswalks and stop bars being installed on Coliseum Ave. This was, again, done in October. Sunshine Paving completed final paving on East Dunstable Road on November 2nd. We have our 51st annual June Karen Senior Outing coming up on Sunday, November 21st for Nashua seniors aged 60 and older. Meals are limited and reservations are required. You can call Park and Rec at 589-3370 to reserve a meal. And they will be picked up on Wednesday, October 27th, starting, they'll be picked up on Sunday, November 21st, between 11 and 12:30 at Stella Stadium. Our annual Santa in the Park event is scheduled for Saturday, December 5th at Greeley Park Bandshell from 12 to 2. Each year, hundreds of children come out for this event to meet Santa. It's always a very successful event. We have crews prepping at Lincoln Park for sidewalk work, approximately 1,000 feet. We've done a lot of improvements at Lincoln Park. If you haven't been, you should go see all the improvements we've made. This is another picture of Lincoln Park, and we're installing a new sprinkler line and new irrigation system for the soccer field, and also spreading topsoil on the fields as part of the repair work and upgrades that we've been doing. This is a crews repaired sewer main that had collapsed at the intersection of East Dunstable and Niquette Drive. The wastewater facility has 4 large raw wastewater pumps in the wet weather facility that run on variable frequency drives. These drives allow us to control the speed of the pumps to pump more or less wastewater as the needs change, and the old drives began to fail and were obsolete. So as you can see, the electricians are replacing them. Every year, the local state wastewater communities host an operator exchange, which includes tours of different facilities throughout the hosting states. Nashua is always a requested stop due to our unique equipment and size. This year's operator was from Rhode Island, and he received a tour from our superintendent, Dave Boucher, and one of our foremen, Matt Casato. The 2 energy recovery generators at wastewater went through their startup procedures. Each were run for approximately 100 hours on solely digester gas. Each ran at about 224 kilowatt for the duration. The startup went really well, and we're actually waiting for a full oil change for warranty purposes, which is scheduled, and then the generators will be brought back online full-time. The wastewater department hosted a confined space entry class, which included a mock entry and rescue, which is really important as we're going into our pump stations and other areas within our wastewater treatment facility. It's important that everyone be safe. So this is a frequent training that we do. Curbside collection of soft yard waste will be ending on Friday, December 3rd. We have extended hours at the landfill until 4 p.m. on Saturdays in November of the 6th, the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th. And those extended hours are only for residential soft yard waste due to the high volumes that we see this time of year. Our final household hazardous waste collection was held on Saturday, November 6th from 8 to noon at the Park and Ride located at 25 Brown Street. And last, the Fort Hills Landfill and Natural Recycling Center will be closed on Thursday, November 25th for the Thanksgiving holiday, and Thursday and Friday's curbside collections will be delayed by 1 day for those days. And that's it. Any questions?
Thank you. How about commissioners' comments? Any, Commissioner Tease?
I'm sorry, Director Photo, to bring it up in this format, I otherwise would just talk to you offline. But I came straight from a meeting where somebody had asked about the paving or patchwork on Canal Street between Amory and D Street, plus or minus, I'm not sure exactly where. If somebody might be able to take a look at that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other commissioners' comments? Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, just, Mayor, just to reemphasize the public comments this morning, at today's meeting regarding the heavy traffic and inability to cross on West Hollis Street. Those folks came to me first. I advised them to come before this board to make that presentation. Because the problem is, a lot of people who live on the south side of West Hollis Street want to cross to get to Mines Falls. And that's what the problem is, they can't cross. And I don't know if the engineer can work something out, whether we can work so people, there's some kind of safe way to cross the street.
All right, well,
That is something that we're working on. We want to do a West Hollis Street traffic corridor study to determine what can be done. But we do need to study it before. We don't want to just install something. People have asked for crosswalks. We can't just install a crosswalk. That would be so incredibly dangerous. So we really need to look at what some other options might be and the location of those options. So we are working on that. The city engineer and I have spoken many occasions, so we'll work with the mayor on trying to figure out how to get that done.
commissioners' comments? Commissioner Schoeneman?
Yes, could we go back a moment to the leave policy on COVID-19?
Yes,
Is that possible?
yes.
I voted yea, and I meant to vote nay. May I change my vote?
Yes. Yes, you can change your vote.
Thank you, I would like to do that.
I was puzzled when you voted yes. That's why I called for it
I
twice.
was a little confused.
Yes, right.
I
understand.
apologize.
No problem. Any
Been a
other
long day.
commissioners' comments? All right, personnel. Item A, Commissioner Schoeneman.
Motion to accept the resignation of John Trowbridge, Mechanic 1, effective October 15, 2021.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item B, Commissioner Tease.
Move to accept the resignation of Kerry Converse, environmental engineer, effective January 17, 2022.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Item C, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to accept the resignation of Jason Popolo, Parks and Recreation Superintendent, effective November 26, 2021.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
with regrets.
Motion passes. Item D, Commissioner Schoeneman.
I move to approve and unseal the non-public minutes for personnel from the Board of Public Works meeting of September 23rd, 2021.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion passes. Now, I believe Commissioner Tease has a motion regarding non-public session.
I do. I move by roll call that the board go into non-public session pursuant to RSA 91A, Section 3, subsection 2B, the hiring of any person as a public employee.
Discussion? All right, could you please call the roll?
Sure. Mayor Donches?
Yes.
Commissioner Tease?
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman?
Yes.
All right, so we are going to go in non-public session. So we'll ask
Radio system for him or what?
All right, I think we're good.
If I may,
Yes.
I move to seal the minutes of the Board of Public Works Personnel Non-Public Meeting of November 18th, 2021, until such time as the majority of the board votes that the purpose of the confidentiality would no longer be served.
All those, pardon?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Um,
One more thing.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Commissioner,
December meeting.
we are going to hold the December meeting, or it's scheduled for, what date is it again?
It is December 17th, I believe. I'll double check.
You don't want to do it on Christmas Eve?
Please, no. It is Thursday, December 16th.
And this room is used by the planning board on Thursdays, and they come in soon to occupy it and set everything up. So we were thinking we should hold the meeting at 4 o'clock to give ourselves time to finish up before they come in. Does anybody have any problems with that? All right, so the next meeting will be at 4 o'clock, Thursday, December 16th.
Okay.
16th?
Yeah, it's Thursday, December 16th at 4. It would be at 4 if we change.
Is there any, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, and the meeting of the Board of Public Works is adjourned at 5:41 PM. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.